Hey, this is Gethard.
Chris Gethard, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of in my own head the past couple of days, but who cares, right? Who cares?
a
How are you?
lot of people care, actually.
Eh, no,
A
it's all.
lot of people care
It's
about Chris Gethard.
no, it's fine. Look, for me, it's just we set the clocks back. We get an hour less of daylight. That always messes with
hmm
me, and
Me too. I hear you.
it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm nervous, but excited and
Me
feel so
too.
lucky I get to talk to you again.
I feel the same way. Very nervous, but also excited to talk to you again. And I met you after one of the live shows.
Yeah, last a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was really nice to meet
That
you.
was just such a cool fluke that worked out. You were actually coming to my hometown, but we were going to be gone that weekend, and just right before your show, something came up. You had posted that you were going to be in the same town that we were visiting.
Oh, really?
So,
So I
so
met,
it worked out great.
so I met you. So I like that because that retains like a little bit of the anonymous side of Beautiful Anonymous. So I've met you, but not
Right?
in a town you actually have roots
Not
in.
in a town I'm from. Nope.
Great. Wow. Wow. So there's still a little
Yeah.
bit of mystique there. Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay. I like it.
All right. Now, your episode when I take a step back and kind of look at what people think of Beautiful Anonymous, I think people bring up two episodes. They bring up the first one, Ron Paul's baby, and then they bring up your episode.
That's so nice.
I think it is one of the. I think it might be the episode that a lot of the people who are longtime fans of the show say it's the one that kind of sums it all up for them. And I gotta say thank you for that because you really put yourself out there so hard in the first call, and it was clearly when I read the reaction, it seemed like it helped a lot of people, opened a lot of people's eyes, and I hope that reaction was positive for you as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, nervous to talk again, knowing that so many people will listen again, but so grateful that I get a chance to thank this community because they have really rallied around us and helped us in so many ways. We we had that phone call, you and I, and on a Friday, and then it aired just a week and a half later, and we were just really raw. We had gotten bad news at that right after talking to you, and it was a very vulnerable, hard time in our life. And then that call came, and the amount of love that people showed us, even before they knew who we were, because shortly after that, in that Facebook group, we let people know who we were and more of our story. A lot of it was because people were figuring out super quick. It was easy. I guess they just put two and two together and knew, and the moderators at that time were being amazing at trying to keep us anonymous, but we're finding it kind of difficult, but we're willing to keep doing it. But we were fine to share that story and let people know more about our story. And still, I mean, just barely last week, I had someone from clear across the world contact me and just let me know that they were thinking about us, that they cared about us. So I can't adequately just express how much the community has helped and lifted us. So truly a beautiful, amazing thing. So thank you for creating this
Oh,
community. Reading your book recently, just and you talk about community, and it's just interesting how you created this community, and then it was kind of handed over to us, this thing that you created, and
I'm
so much
just
support. So
I'm just
amazing.
lucky to be a part of it. I'm very lucky to be a
Well,
part of it. I
that's
feel
cool.
like I get to surf the wave as much as anybody else who's a part of the community that surrounds this show. And I'm just so happy to hear that an internet-driven community was a positive in your life because
So positive.
so often those can be very negative things, especially people in
Yeah,
times of need or times of sorrow.
right. No, it has only been just a beautiful, amazing thing. And your podcast, you've seen that, just how it teaches us all to have a little more empathy with people we wouldn't normally come in contact with. And I've loved that. I've loved that opportunity just to get a little spice of life from people that, and understand people from a different angle that I couldn't have otherwise. So it's a wonderful thing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And like I said,
I'm sure it's probably not easy for you always to have to delve into people's stories. That's a heavy thing.
Listen, I'm the lucky one. I'm the facilitator, and then people like you call up and share things that are hard to share, and then other people appreciate it and get something from it and find strength in it. And I'm just extremely blessed to be in that position. And
it's just so cool how people just really crave that connection, and that it's just a way to make that happen. It's neat. And it was just so good for me too. Just, do you want me to give backstory on Holly's situation, or was that just going to be
we should probably fill people in. I think a lot of people who are members of the Facebook group surrounding the show know, because you posted there and kept everyone updated. But for anybody who's not, you did let us know how things turned out. And I feel like I'm being very awkward and dancing around it. You mentioned that your daughter did pass away since the recording of the first call. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, and, knowing that by the time the call aired, we knew that was going to happen. And it just meant so much that her message was going to spread throughout the world. Like, there's just a mother who loses a child wants that child to live on. And I feel like that has been a way, the fact that someone clear across the world just recently was bringing up Holly again, that just helps her live on. And so, just an amazing avenue for that I'm really grateful for. So thank you.
Please, you do not need to thank me. That's
okay. Well, I am thankful.
No,
and it's just cool. It's cool how something I didn't realize before this whole journey with cancer is how much strangers can help people feel loved. Like, I don't know any of these people. I've never met a single person that listened to the podcast and then I met them. I've never met anyone, but still these hundreds, even thousands of messages from total strangers. It was just like this big hug for us. And I never would have thought that reaching out to a stranger and saying, I care about you, I'm thinking about you, could be so impactful. And it really helped me realize, reach out to people, even if you don't know them. If you know people are hurting, reach out. And I tried to be better about that, knowing how it felt for me. So it's a good thing to learn from that.
I think that's a good thing to remember. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy. I know, and I do remember once sometimes you try to reach out and it's not what a person needs, but at least you tried. I know I was one time on a subway train in New York City, and there was a young lady sobbing her eyes out, and everybody was kind of looking awkwardly at her, and I sat down next to her and I just said, hey, whatever's going on, I hope it gets better soon. And I thought that was a sweet thing to do, but we were in New York City, so she turned around to me and went, you do not, And I quickly got up and walked away and realized that maybe she needed a little more time.
Too hurt. She was too hurt.
Whatever was going on at that point, a stranger's love was not doing the trick. But at least I tried.
And I think most of the time it's worth trying. I think all the time, because maybe she later that day thought, oh heck, he reached out to me in a better space where she was at.
I'm not mad at her.
It helped her feel better. I think if we're reaching out in love, we just can't go wrong. We need more love in this world.
We got to try to push back and put a little bit more positivity when we can.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
How, I'm hesitant. I'm almost nervous to ask. But I think just the big broad question is how are you guys doing?
Yeah, that's a big, broad question and a hard one to answer. So many layers to it, right? When life goes on and we're still still have a good life, but just broken. It's just hard to lose a child. It's more painful than I could have imagined. So it's been just trying to adjust and figure out life without our Holly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a hard thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I couldn't imagine either. And in some ways, I think that was a gift, not knowing. I know when we talked last, we were deciding, if we should keep doing treatments or stop treatments. And because the tumor had grown, we decided it wasn't worth doing the treatments. But now looking in my situation now, I would just keep fighting just for selfish reasons, just to avoid the pain. For me, if I had known how hard it would have been, I think I would have made her go through a lot more. The same result would have happened, but I would have been more panicked about not doing constant things to try and keep her life. So it was a good thing that I didn't know, and that I was able to let her live a good life. She had, from the time we called, she had so many months of just beautiful, beautiful months that she couldn't have had otherwise. So,
right.
Super grateful for that.
Right. Yeah, that's, there's a lot of layers.
Yeah.
How are how are the other kids holding up?
They're good. One regret I did have from that last phone call was how I threw my youngest under the bus just a little bit, because he was just so hard, and he has just saved me. He is my greatest gift right now, and gives me a reason to keep going, and needs me and loves me, and is I cannot imagine life without him now, and he's gotten so much easier because his life isn't chaos now, and he's able to get more time and attention that he needed, and is doing really well. And my oldest is off at college and is loving that and is happy there. And then 2 high schoolers that are just doing all the things high schoolers do. They're doing well. So they're good. They're doing well.
That's great to hear.
Pretty awesome kids.
And I love that I love that the one that was a little pain in the ass has now stepped up to the plate. That's pretty amazing.
It is actually pretty amazing to think back at how much he's grown up and changed, and just a really sensitive, sweet kid that loves his mom. And I needed to be loved, and I needed him to need me, and so he's been my reason to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So the high schoolers don't need me as much in that way, and so it's nice that I have someone that needs me to make them lunch and give him a hug as he walks out the door. So, yeah. He's doing well.
Making my heart melt. You make this little guy lunch.
Sweet kid.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's a good one. I love him.
Yeah. That's so cool. So cool, yeah. I would have to imagine, your other kids had so much time to process feelings and rationalize it, that I would imagine it's something they had time to sort of get used to. But I just remember when
I think so.
Yeah. How did they I feel so bad because I'll ask questions and I hope I don't step on toes, but I remember, for me, I think I was in 7th or 8th grade and one of my grandparents passed away, and it was just
mm-hmm.
a head spinning thing, and my parents had to explain
mm-hmm.
that to me. Or no, I was in 2nd or 3rd grade and my grandmother
mm-hmm.
passed away, and it was like, wait, what? That's a thing that happens to people I know. It must be such a weird thing to have to readjust your family and explain to all the other kids.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, like you said, having that time, and we approached it in a way that we were very, very, very open about it. We didn't ever hide the fact that she was going to die. I mean, from that time that we had that doctor's appointment in June of last year, 2017, and then she passed away in March of this year. And that whole time, we all knew it was coming, and we were open about it. I would be fine to share what's happened since we last called, if you're up for that. If you want to hear the story of...
I'm all ears, yeah. Wherever.
Okay.
Again, as always, whatever you want this to be is what it shall be. You let me know.
Okay. I am... so after that phone call, we just lived life as fully as we could. It was the middle of the summer, and Holly was able to stop all of her treatments. We went home and had that conversation with her that night, and it was so hard for her to express her feelings, and of course she cried, and it was not any conversation I would have ever wanted to have. But I asked her, how much percent are you happy? How much percent are you sad and mad? And it was like, she's still the most optimistic little girl, but she was like 50% happy and 30% scared and 20% sad, something I can't remember exactly. But within just a few days, I asked her again, and she just the hugest smile, 100% happy. And I think she just was so relieved to be done with all that medication. And just, she had fought for so long, and it was so hard. And to know she had finally finished and she didn't have to worry about it. And kids are so beautiful, and I was so grateful to live through her eyes and my other children's eyes, because it just mattered what was happening that day. What great thing was happening. They weren't worried about what was going to happen in 2 months or 5 months. They just were worried about what fun thing we were doing. And we played that summer. We just backpacking and paddleboarding, and Holly was my bravest child. She was jumping off these awesome cliffs into these beautiful pools of water, and just all these amazing things. And then, so we were able to enjoy that, but still keeping the conversation open of what was happening. And by September, her scans showed that the tumor had already doubled in size. And we knew that was coming. We knew that's what was going to happen, but it was still just so jarring to actually see, it really is happening. And actually your podcast was that recording that we had made previously was so helpful at that time, because I just kind of questioned, wow, what have we done? Why in the world did we back away from this? I mean, we knew it wouldn't do any good, but still you just can't help but to, question every single choice and every single move that we made, and listening back on it and just remembering why it was important that we stopped then, and why it was important that we let her live her life, and that we got those beautiful moments and memories with the kids. And I think all of the kids, and my husband and I, we just knew how special every minute. I don't think life will ever be quite that rich again, because we knew what was happening and that these moments were precious and special. And Holly kept living normal life. It was just so crazy. We were just in this weird place. She would go to school. I remember parent-teacher conferences, and we were sitting with the teacher and asking what she thought about how she was doing. And she was kind of worried because she hadn't kept up on all of her assignments. And trust me, I'd said so many times, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just do your best. And just her try to live her best life, regardless of what was going to happen. She just had this drive, which was just so absolutely amazing to watch and experience and live in that space. And then in December, we were able to make a trip to my nephew's wedding, see tons of family. And I had just, I tried to every day write down things that helped me and just to find little nuggets of joy every day, and had just written down how great it was to see everybody. And she came in and showed me a lump that was on her arm. And this was the first time that it had gone somewhere else. And so I knew that, that it was spreading and didn't know how much longer we would have at that point. And then January and February, it just, rhabdo is just a really fast-growing cancer, and it just kind of exploded all, I don't know how many details you want, but tell me when to stop if it's too much.
It's really up to you. But, it's really,
okay.
I just want to make sure you don't feel obligated to share anything that you don't want to share. That's where my head's at.
I don't feel, I feel like, I do feel this need to share what childhood cancer is like, and that the details don't need to be hidden. And it's a true story of a little girl that happened, but by January she had the tumor, we could see it in her ear, and it just started life started to get heavy finally, and still just super open with her and with their kids. And she just was remarkable. I mean, I'll never get over the strength that she showed and her positive attitude. She just took it all, just accepted everything. I mean, she would complain a little, but not much. She just, whatever happened, she'd work through it and adjust to it. And, it was amazing. It's amazing what children are capable of. And so she just things were getting a lot heavier, and the radiation, we had done another round of radiation in September just to try and alleviate some of that quick growing, and she was having some pain from that, but the side effects, her nose was, nasal passages were all messed up, and her she couldn't open her jaw, and she had completely lost hearing in one of her ear, and just found another. We were sitting in church one day and rubbing her back and found another lump in her back. So just this constant, it felt like every day new hard things were coming, and it just, it was pretty horrific and scary, but I mean, just her sweet message of love is everywhere was always in the forefront of our thoughts in everything that we experienced, and constantly were shown so much love throughout the whole thing, and it sustained us, and it was amazing. So many times I thought, how can anyone go through something like this and still feel loved and feel joy? But we just really did. It was a beautiful thing. Hard and beautiful at the same time. And then we found a lump on the roof of her mouth that we knew would be disastrous, and it was. And just really ugly and hard. And she, I'll spare some of the gory details, but just know it was not a pretty thing. Really, just pretty unreal what a little child would have to go through. I remember, the tumor was making it so impossible to eat, and she really wanted a McDonald's hamburger, so we went and got this hamburger, hoping that she'd eat. She'd had such a hard time for weeks, and she took just a little bite and couldn't even swallow just a little piece of the bread, and just how devastating it is as a mother to have to surrender your ability to care for your child that way, because that's what we do from the moment they're born. We feed them and care for them and meet their needs, and I couldn't anymore. That was taken away, and there was no reason to put her on any life sustain. They could have pumped her with stuff, but it would have just sustained what was already too terrible. And so we talked to the hospice nurse who was helped me understand that it was okay to let go of that. And so just having conversations about not, being okay with your child not eating or drinking. And anyways, it was just such an intense, hard time. But but we just always, I had a friend once tell me to follow the lead of the child, and she was okay, and we just loved her and spent every minute with her and talked about death, and she didn't fear death, and we believe that she'll live again and that we'll see her again, and we talked about that, and we sang songs about that, and just really tried to make it as beautiful as we could for her, and she was just funny, clear till the very end. And I remember one time she was working on cleaning out her mouth, and she just was taking forever. Her things were just getting really hard. I'm like, and I wished I could just do it for her. She was very independent, and she didn't want me to do it. She was just so slow, and she just told me, I'm a sloth. She's so cute, this little, I'm just being a sloth, because she was just slow, and she knew she was slow, but she was okay with it. So just so sweet and inspiring and beautiful, and like I said, just really didn't complain very much. As things got worse, as she got weaker, we knew that we weren't going to have too much longer with her. She lasted, I didn't know a human could go so long without food and water, but they can. She held on as tight as she could, and we loved her as much as we could. And the week of, it was spring break, my kids were in various different places, and I wanted them to be around. It was just just hard to know how to navigate that. And there was this one afternoon I just felt like we just need everybody has to be home. And my son wanted to be at friends, and I was like, no, just come home this afternoon. And just we all gathered together and sang songs and prayed and told her we loved her. And shortly after that, she just went into a deep sleep, and we knew that she probably wouldn't wake from it. And so we had each of the kids take a chance to go and talk to her and share with her whatever they wanted. And so they each took their turn, and then I took my turn with her, and she wasn't coherent anymore, but her eyes were open, and she wept with me as I told her how much I loved her and how she had done everything she could and that she could be done. And then my husband came in, and just shortly after that, she took her last breath. And it was actually a beautiful, sacred experience. I was able to bring her into this world, and that was beautiful, and was able to let her leave this world. And I feel like angels were there with us, and we gathered all the kids back and just spent time. We tried to make it as hands-on as we could for them, and as safe and not scary. And so we were all together in the room. We had other family here, and just talked about how much we loved her and how amazing she was, and have continued to do that. So that is, I just am grateful for the chance to be able to share her story and her strength and her the beauty it was to care for her and to experience that with her. It was it's a beautiful experience. So thank you for letting me share. I know it's a little much.
No, thank you for sharing. I'm crying a little bit, just so you know. I want you're gonna hear that in my voice. That is, I think that to so many people is such an unimaginable situation, and it sounds like for as awful as it is to even imagine that, it does sound like it. It sounds like you guys did such a good job of making it a situation that offered up closure and comfort, both your daughter and your children who, are still with us. And
yeah,
that's I would imagine that in a situation where there is really no positive that is about, about as beautiful a story that I could have just heard in relation to what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I think life is short, right? Nobody knows when it's going to be their time to go, and it just really just put life in perspective. And you just gotta love those that are around you when you can.
I tell you, this makes me want to get in less dumb fights about stuff that doesn't matter with the people I love.
Yeah.
It makes me want to put down my cell phone and just hang out with my wife.
Yeah. And it's helped me. It's definitely changed, obviously. I don't have to say that, but it changed my life. And I mean, you still have to live life, right? You got to work and you have to do all the things that we have to do, but just in the end, just remembering what it's all about.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I'm so struck by is when you said, you know, you feel like as a parent, there's all these things you're supposed to do, and those things were gradually taken from you, but it sounds like over and over again, you know, all these things where it must have been so frustrating and heartbreaking that you couldn't help her. It sounds like over and over again, she actually, in those moments, helped you.
Yeah.
And that is astounding and mind-blowing.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly how it was. And I didn't realize that to the extent until she was gone and she wasn't there to help me. And that's when it really got hard. I mean, obviously it was terrible watching her suffer, but but she was always still so okay to live life. She was okay and able to, you know, obviously we had her on pain medication and she slept a lot and made it through. But then when she was gone, I realized what an anchor she had been for me and how much I had relied on her for my happiness. And that's when I had to dig real deep and feel so grateful for those other kids that can be that support and just other people. And it just really has also given me a different perspective. I remember going to the grocery store, just, you gotta eat still, and the family needed food. And so even though I was so broken and just hard to leave the house, we still had to go to the grocery store. So I remember going there and just looking around at all these people and thinking, who else? From all these people, who else is hurting right now? And it just it's totally changed how I, not always, but a lot of the time, you know, just hit that people have been through stuff. And I had been through things. And I lost my mom when I was a teenager. And so I had known grief, but nothing to this extent. I never felt such pain and brokenness. And so just realizing that people live with that and that we're all somehow getting up every day and getting out the door, it's pretty amazing. I think hats off to all of us for finding it in us to live life even when it hurts.
Yeah. That is really true. That is really true. You forget. You're sitting in traffic and you're like, I'm trying to get to my Soul Cycle appointment right now. And you're like, well, the person in the next car might be driving to the hospital, dude. So maybe take a breath and chill out. Maybe take a breath. They might be driving to someplace far. They might be late to something far more serious than that.
Yeah. And even choices that people make or things that don't make sense that are clearly not okay. You just, you wonder the heartache that brought something like that on. what kind of loneliness and sadness drives people to do things that just don't make sense.
Yeah. I keep finding myself thinking of that stretch you described after you ceased treatments and before things got really bad, when you said you guys were just able to go live, and that image of her being the brave one and jumping into the lake.
Mm-hmm.
In the months since everything has happened, have you started to have any, like, you know, life, I don't want to say life moves on, it doesn't, that's not real, but have you had moments in the past 6 or 7 months where there's that similar level of, oh, we're letting our guard down, feeling that joy again, or is that just a little far away right now?
I love that you asked that question, because I think it's such a huge part of grief for people. And I don't know where you've been with your, you know, in your own life, the experiences with grief, but I think that is one of the harder things, especially losing a child, is just feeling bad when you start to feel joy again, that, you know, I shouldn't feel happy. And I think that's a pretty common emotion to feel. It's just this, I shouldn't be able to feel happiness. And I recognized that would be easy to go that route, and have really fought to still live life. And I think back to Holly, who was hurting physically for 2.5 years pretty consistently. And I just wish you knew this girl. She just lived life passionately, even with pain, and loved it. And just that parent-teacher conference, like, she cared about, she knew she was not going to make it. The math didn't matter. She knew, but she still wanted to do her best. And I have thought of her so many times, and how I need to live life through the pain like she did. And definitely, I've thought so many times just how important it is that I keep living for those that are still living. And a lot of times, especially this summer, that meant putting their needs in front of my own and just going through the motions. I feel like this summer I just went through the motions, because there was a hole in my heart and nothing to fix that, and nothing will fix that ever. It will just be part of me. And so, but still going through the motions and being okay when I felt joy, being okay when the other kids made me laugh, and knowing that that's all Holly would want for us. She would not want us to be any sadder than we had to. Obviously, she wanted us to be able to keep living life and feel joy, that the last thing she would want is for her mom to be sad. And so for her and for my other kids, being okay to be happy, and also fighting still just to keep her message that love is everywhere alive. I'll tell you, it was really easy to feel that and recognize that when every day we were getting messages and love and cards, and it's overwhelming how much support we were shown through all that. And life goes on for everybody, and I don't think it should be any different, but it's not like that anymore. And I don't even want it to be like that anymore. But now I have to really fight to recognize love and to see it, and to be the person that shows the love to other people. I think that's key too, with that. Before it was just in the receiving, because that's where we were at. But now this is a chance to give back love and to keep that alive, and to fight. I think you just kind of have to fight through life, unfortunately, and fight to see the good. And so yes, The answer is yes. It's been harder than I could imagine. But yes, we absolutely find joy. And we went back to those same cliffs and jumped off those same cliffs, and it hurt, but it was beautiful and good to be there. And we talk about her constantly. She is still very alive in our home.
Yeah.
And talk about the things she would love and the places she would love to be there with us. So
I just want to say,
life is too great to give up on.
Life is too great to give up on. I got to say again, this is not a thing that we have like a pre-interview for and take notes on. Like you,
not at all.
Twice now have been so remarkably able to, throughout a lot of pain, just express yourself in ways that are so clear and beautiful, and that really helped people. And I find
thank you.
I am so glad that we're able to talk about Holly, and deservedly so, and to hear you tell us so many amazing things about her. But I do just want to make sure that I take a second to let you know that you are an astounding person for being able to put this out there, because it's not something most people would be able to do at all, let alone in a way that is like just so simple and profound and right at the core of all these emotions. And I can't thank you enough. And I want to make sure that, as someone from the outside who's only met you once and now talked to you, this is the third time, you are an incredible person.
That's nice of you to say. That's nice of you. I think I'm pretty average, but
average people are the best ones. Average people are the best people. That's
true. True.
That's exactly it, though, right? Because everybody listening, I think that's why you connected so hard the last call, and why this one is undoubtedly going to do so as well, because average people live through these things every day.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody can explain it the way you do, and not everybody can offer up so much out of it, if that makes sense. And it's
that's nice of you. Thank you.
I am in awe that I get to speak with you, because this is not easy, and you keep making me cry because you keep saying such beautiful, profound things.
Sorry.
No,
making you cry.
The last thing I wanted from that was a sorry, and I think you know that. I'm thanking. I did want to ask, you keep bringing up the word, you keep mentioning grief, and obviously there's so much of it, like a deep well of it. How are you able to process it where your thoughts remain this clear and where you remain focused so positively? Is it something that you're kind of doing in solitude? Is it something happening within your household? Are there organizations? Are you seeing professionals? Like, how are you processing this in a way that is so clearly, like I said, productive and forward thinking?
That's been the focus of my thoughts the past 6 months. I didn't know that grief would take such a physical toll. I think because we had lived in this state of, that fight or flight for so long, because we were always revving so high, we never knew what was going to happen. And so anyways, I am having a lot of side effects from all of that, from the trauma of it all. I think that's what surprised me so much, is just how much trauma affects us and how hard it is to recover from it. So I don't know yet. I mean, I don't feel like I feel like I still need help. I have not sought professional help, mostly because I been too lazy to make that phone call and just finding the time for it. But I do a lot of research on my own, a ton of research on my own. and just try and really listen to myself and my body and and being okay with whatever emotion, wherever I'm at on that day is okay. And I think just accepting that it's okay to be sad one day. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be scared. I wake up almost every morning just in that flight or fight kind of emotion. And I think just from the trauma of it all, and I might need to get professional help along the way. I would love to, I try and figure out ways to fix it on my own, but I don't know if it's even possible after going through so much trauma to be able to, but just really being aware of why I feel how I feel and accepting it and being really kind to myself. If there's some days that I just can't do much, being totally fine with that and accepting that. And also pushing myself when I can. I'm not one to sit around, and I think I would be incredibly depressed if I just stayed home all the time and grieved that way. So for me, I just keep really busy, and I'm a piano teacher. I have a lot of students, and I help at the school a ton, and I surround myself with the best people. I have amazing friends, an amazing family, and a church community who has walked by our side every step of the way. And I think I had listened to this, and I listen to a lot of podcasts and other people's stories. It's amazing how much it puts your own life in perspective. And was listening to this woman that had lost everything, or her in a fire, had lost all of her children, and she just talked about surrounding herself in love, and so I try and do that. I have an amazing community of friends and family, and they lift me up and they help me, and I just try really just to get outside of my mind and myself and realize that everyone's life is really bad. I guess, and I kind of mean that. Like, we just all have really hard things. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh, but it's amazing to hear that and have it feel like such a positive. I
think it helps to know. You at your comedy act talk about we shouldn't all try and think life is perfect. It's just not perfect,
No
and
way.
if we just take a moment to think life's just as bad, and what right do I have to have a perfect life? And when I talk to friends or whoever, every time I'm like, oh, actually my life's pretty great. And I have a lot of great things going for me, and that makes all the difference too. Just focusing on, I really have a wonderful life, and I hurt every day, but so do a lot of people. We all hurt.
Yeah.
And it's given me a different ability to love and recognize that and be okay with that. And I know I'm not ever going to get over it, right? So I don't have to try to get over it.
Right.
I just know I just have to try and figure out how to still find even just like one moment of beauty in the day, and that's enough.
Right.
And being okay with that.
That's one of those things that could sound so daunting, but actually sounds so freeing to realize, like,
It is.
There's no getting over it. It's not a thing you conquer. Yep. So you got to learn to coexist.
Right. And just accept that life will never be the same again, and that's just how it is. And isn't that the same for everyone? And in their whatever tragedy we all go through, it's just, I did before this think of life as more of a linear thing where we just go through. I had my vision of how it was going to be, and now I just who knows what will happen tomorrow. And I think a lot of us, feel that same way in this country. You just don't ever know. And so take today for what it's worth, and that helps. And that's kind of the way I approached this from the moment we found out Holly had cancer. And I kid you not, there's not been a day, even the day she died, that didn't have something beautiful about it. So I do think it's, if you choose to see that, if you want to see that good, or if you want to just look at the bad, I think it's so much how we choose to look at life.
Well, I tell you, one thing that I feel like I have learned from you, maybe more than anyone I've ever spoken to in my life, within or without the context of this podcast, is that in 2 calls now, both things, one thing that I feel like I really hope sticks with me and that I remember is that you have experienced an unimaginable level of pain that I think no one would ever envy, and that anyone listening, their hearts go out towards. But in the face of that, you have also shown in the course of 2 conversations so many times that by accepting that and reconciling that it was there, you also have been granted a wisdom that I do envy, and an experience and an ability to recognize joy and positivity more than I think some of us as well. And I think, again, I find myself once again blown away by your ability to just say things like that cut right to the core of it in a way that is just remarkable. And I thank you for that reminder.
Thank you.
And I will say,
trying to figure out this life.
yeah. And holy shit, do I hope that I can speak on behalf of everyone who's ever heard either of your calls. I think on behalf of every single listener, I wish nothing more for you and your family than a life that throws you no more curveballs or roadblocks or anything.
But it will.
It will. It will. Of course it will. And what a trite thing for me to even say, but it doesn't mean that I don't mean it with my full heart and every ounce of passion in my guts.
I appreciate it.
And I'll tell you something else too. Is that there's a lot of parents who listen to our show, and a lot of people who I think are headed towards that, and myself included. I would love to be a parent someday. And to hear your story, it's like it's like anybody who's listening to it, I think, would say like that. You went through a nightmare. You went through a nightmare that a lot of people who are there would. A lot of people who have that on their minds, who either are parents or would like to be someday, would hear that, and that is the nightmare that makes people nervous. But again, in both of your calls, as you describe this nightmare, it's also something that I just over and over again realized, like the ability, the depths of love that you felt towards your daughter, and that your daughter also clearly helped bring into your life, is, again, it's a nightmare that I would never wish on anybody, and that I pray I don't have to live through. But also, it makes it so clear that love between a parent and a child is so real, and so as someone who's not a parent yet, that is something, that level of love is something so profound and so something to look forward to, outside of the darkness. It really is, just as you describe your relationship with your daughter and everything you felt towards her and she towards you, it's eye-opening.
Yeah, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, even as painful as it's been. It was worth it. It's so worth it to have her in my life for that short period of time. And what a gift she was and my other children are to me, even though, I mean, it's still hard to be a parent with those. It's just hard to parent and hard to know how to do it right. But just that blessing that they can be and the love that we can, and that no matter what happens, still love them and make it through. And yeah, thank you.
You do not need to thank me. I need to thank you, because you've shared, I think, and I mean, it's not a, I'm not trying to compare to anyone else, but I would say just on a personal level, as the host of this show, almost 200 episodes in, I can say that both times I've talked to you, it's been, I would say maybe just on a personal level, your calls are the ones that I have maybe just sort of learned the most about life from. And I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you for giving me this platform. I took my oldest for her senior trip. We went to Las Vegas and watched Hamilton while it was there and loved it and wept through it. But at the end, that very last words is, who lives, who dies, who tells your story. And I just felt this overwhelming need to share Holly's story any chance I can get. So thank you for giving me a small platform to do that and to talk about her and to talk about her message and love in a world that needs so much more love, and any chance I can have to have her legacy live on.
Well, thank you for...
It's probably the greatest gift you can give me.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for trusting my dumbass and this weird show to be a vehicle by which people can hear this story, because I'm truly I take that as a real challenge, and it sets the bar high, and I don't want to let you down. And I'm just happy that you found this a place that you felt comfortable sharing. And
definitely.
Also, so how good was Hamilton, right?
Right. My little 8-year-old has every word memorized of that musical. He's obsessed with it.
What's his favorite song? What's his favorite song?
What is his favorite song? I think it's, he was just needed to listen to it yesterday, and he loves Hurricane and Guns and Ships. Is that what it's called? I think. Those are two of his favorite.
6 months ago, I would have been able to launch into them. Oh, he's a funny kid.
Just because he has, it was just fascinating when he discovered it, and he had to know every single last detail of Hamilton's life and everything that happened. He was very interested in that whole story, which for an 8-year-old seemed pretty grown up to need to know about our founding fathers, but he cares a lot about them. So
there must be a ton of parents lately who are like, thank you, Lin-Manuel Miranda. You somehow made learning about Revolutionary Era history cool.
Even for me, I didn't know. I was pretty naive I had forgotten everything I learned in school about all that time period. And so it inspired me. I read the book Hamilton and learned as much as I could. And so it's an awesome musical.
Yeah.
It was cool. My daughter had just seen it a few months before, but was happy to see it again, and I really needed to see it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Great message.
Absolutely. And I would have to, I feel bad bringing it back up because we're laughing again, but there's also that beautiful stretch where he has that beautiful song about dealing with the death of his son.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been half.
I wept. I
can't imagine it.
It was.
Did you know that one was coming? Had you heard the soundtrack?
Oh yeah, I knew the music. Oh yeah, I had listened to it already. It's so different though when you're actually watching it.
Because I was going to say,
and it was just.
If you guys scored tickets to Hamilton and then that comes up halfway through and you don't know it's coming, I would have been like,
oh, no,
son of a bitch, let these people have a good night. We just can't let these people, please.
That would have been awful.
Yeah.
No, it was just a few months after Holly had passed. So my emotions, I didn't realize. I just never know what things are going to really trigger. But that was a trigger, and I couldn't even talk after for a good. I just put my hand up to my daughter and my sister who was there with me, and just had to go sit in a corner for like 15 minutes. And but that kind of stuff, I think, is, for me, it's healthy just to feel and to cry. And I don't shy away from those things. I think for me, it's better to face them head on and feel it. And so it was good in that way, and really inspiring for me just to.
That's awesome.
To tell her story. And I think I'll try and write it all in book form someday. We'll see if it happens.
Please let me know when it's happening. I will make sure that everybody listening to this show is aware, because I do think that a lot of the people listen. They are very, very. I think a lot of the people who listen feel very lucky that they have a chance to have your back, and let me know when it's coming. Also, how does that one guy?
Okay.
That one guy raps really fast, right? That one guy. I'm trying.
Yeah. Okay. My son can do it. My 8-year-old son. He can do it.
Oh, that must be
totally.
You must laugh your ass off when he comes out.
I love it.
With the David Diggs part, right? When he's.
Yep.
You must. Oh, that's awesome.
He loves it. He just sat for hours and hours with his earbuds in, memorizing every word.
That's awesome.
So fun to watch.
That's a happy image.
All my kids actually have just about the whole thing memorized. They were more into it than I was for years. I didn't realize how cool it was. They tried to tell me. I didn't listen.
Yeah.
It took me a while.
Look at that. Look at that. Well, it's pretty clear to me this feels like it's reaching an organic ending. I think, if there's... It's also... Thank God we had a chance to plug Hamilton, because Lord knows they need the help. And
if there's anything in this world that is not, they are the one thing that figured it out.
And I do apologize that in the end I feel a need to find a laugh, because I'm an insecure comedian and I am not as good at processing emotions as you are.
Oh, I love it. I'm happy to laugh. It was so fun to go to your comedy show and laugh with everyone else. I loved it.
That's good.
I'll take a laugh any chance I can get one.
I tell you, that's why I like being. I always tell myself before I go on stage, I go, if anybody's having a bad day and I can get them to laugh, they're having a little bit less of a bad day. That's a good job.
Keep it up.
Good job. And again, thank you. It's everything you have to say is hard, but you say it with such grace and eye-opening, beautiful. And once again, I find myself blown away by you and by your story. And I'm so lucky that I've been able to get to know you via these calls, and just want to once again say that love is everywhere.
Love is everywhere.
Something that your daughter taught me that I've never forgotten, and that I want to do my best to keep honoring. And it was
thank you.
So good to talk to you again, even though I feel, once again, like I have to say, I'm so sorry to hear about everything that has happened.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Can we close this off with Holly singing a song, and you can just turn us off whenever you want to, and we can just let the world hear her cute little voice?
Oh, you mean you have an actual record?
Like I'll play an audio that I have, and you can just cut it off when you're ready to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can play it right here, and also if you wanna send the file, we can insert it in if we want it. A little higher quality.
Well, I'll just put it on here, and you can see how it works. But thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
This is about
been a privilege and worth being nervous. I was so nervous for days. It was worth it.
I was too, but you got me through it, and that again speaks to you.
We made it through.
And I would love to hear Holly, and send so much love to you. And this is about to break my heart.
All right. Thank you. Here she is.
Hi, my name is Holly. These are my sisters, Abby and Emily, and this is Bedstock. You will see. La la la, la la la, la la la. You will see.
Caller, I said it in the course of the call so many times. I will say it again. Thank you for being who you are, and for being so honest with us about who you are and about what you've dealt with in life and about what you've lived through, and it gives me so much to think about. Thank you for reminding us of the lessons that Holly taught you and has now taught all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you as well to Jared O'Connell and Harry Nelson, who are sitting in the booth next to me. Thank you to Justin Linville for all your help in my life. Thank you to Shellshag. If you like this show, you don't have to go and rate and review and subscribe on this one on Apple Podcasts, because guess what? This is Stitcher Premium exclusive, baby. But what you can do is tell your friends, get the word of mouth going. I think we're on to something really special here, so let the world know. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beautiful Follow-Ups. And hey, everybody, it's Chris jumping back in here one last time. Hoping you enjoyed that. Very, very happy to put that one out there. And again, I know it's a little weird to plug a project at the end of something that's so emotional, so impactful, so I'll just keep it real quick and say that the Beautiful Follow-Ups series, it's on Stitcher Premium. We've got so many callers you want to hear from again. Prison Bound and Escape from a Cult, and just a lot of favorites, just a lot of people it's good to touch base with. So not trying to hammer it too hard, but stitcherpremium.com/stories, the promo code stories, you get a free month, and a lot of good conversations sitting there if you are so inclined. No pressure, but enjoy them if you feel like it. Thanks so much, and we'll be back next week with a regular Beautiful Anonymous.
You have a collect call from an inmate at a federal prison. To accept this call, press 5 now.
A few months back on Beautiful Anonymous, we talked to someone who was about to head to a 4-year prison stint. We were able to follow up with her. We actually talked to her in prison. Does it feel like a punishment? Does it feel like a penance?
Absolutely. I have affected lives negatively, and that's, I spent years my husband and I were selling drugs. I knew that I was taking away from people's families, and I was very good at justifying things.
Check out Beautiful Follow-Ups on Stitcher Premium and hear how she's doing. It's pretty gripping stuff, and I hope you enjoy it.
Want to hear Earwolf pilots before anybody else? We made a podcast feed just for you. Earwolf Presents is full of great stuff, like preview episodes for upcoming shows, peeks behind the paywall, and pilots for podcasts that haven't even been made yet. It's like getting to listen in behind the scenes here at Earwolf. Starting January 21st, Earwolf Presents will have a bunch of new pilots for you, like Edgar Montplaisir's The Wokest. Catch conversations between the wokest man in the world and comedians like Reza Lachea. Also, hear upcoming pilots The Florida Cast. Wow, you're Native American too? This Week in Sports and Carl Alarm all throughout the month. Let us know what you think of them with hashtag Earwolf Presents. Subscribe to Earwolf Presents to hear more great episodes from around the network and behind the paywall, like an episode of Drew Tarver's Strictly Business with Derek Contrera, or Act 1 of Matt Besser's punk musical Stolen Idea. Just search for Earwolf Presents in your podcast app and subscribe so you don't miss an update.